Hey everybody. Happy Thursday, April 8th, 2021. As many of you know, I co-direct a scientific laboratory with Dr. Karen Quigley. And during the COVID pandemic, we've been sending daily video salutations to our lab peeps. We can't meet in person. We do meet on Zoom. But in order to keep things a little more personal, we send these daily thoughts. And it's been suggested to me that maybe you might be interested in hearing some of these salutations. And so I thought we could give it a go. So think of it as a little moment of meaning from me to you. Yesterday, I had the great privilege of having a conversation with the historian Tim Snyder from Yale. We were doing an event where we were discussing the relationships between my book, 7.5 Lessons About the Brain, and Tim's brilliant book on Tyranny. I don't know if you've read this book, but if you haven't, you should. It's quick, it's a short read, it's full of really important information about authoritarian thinking. And I have to tell you, I found great comfort in reading this book. In my most difficult moments, the moments I found most challenging during the last presidential administration. And so yesterday, Tim was discussing his new book that he's writing about freedom. And he had this really interesting definition of freedom, which I've been thinking about ever since. He suggests that freedom is not the absence of a government telling you what to do. Freedom is actually the ability to envision possible futures for yourself and maybe even enact those futures. And I just think this is really profound. It relates to a very basic function of the human brain and actually of all brains. And that is the ability to remember the past and use it to predict the future, which we sometimes refer to as mental time travel. In fact, human brains are so good at doing mental time travel that we sometimes have trouble actually staying present in the moment. And I was thinking about the things that actually make it harder for people to envision futures that are different from the life that they're currently living. Things like being afraid of uncertainty or avoiding ambiguity and complexity. These are the harbingers of authoritarian thinking, but they also make it really impossible for people to learn new information, which allows them to then predict or envision a different future. And there are also other kinds of things which limit people's freedom, limit their ability to imagine things as different than they currently are. Things like having a body budget that is running a deficit. Things like pain and suffering, depression. There might be also developmental differences or developmental changes that make it harder to predict the future, like, an infant's brain or a child's brain, and even an adolescent brain isn't fully developed. Its capacity, in a wiring sense, to be able to predict the future to the extent that a neurotypical adult brain can. And I was thinking that, this idea that freedom is about possible futures, envisioning possible futures, on the surface kind of looks like it's inconsistent with Buddhist or contemplative traditions, which understand freedom to be about being present in the moment. But in thinking about it, I realized, well, there's a difference between willfully being present in the moment and being trapped in the moment. And to me, this is I don't know, there's a lot of interesting opportunities to think through what this means for your own life, um, particularly in this political moment. And so, with that, I will bid you good night, and I will see you again soon.